Welcome to the Killer Countdown. Each episode, 2 contestants will count down the greatest horror films of all time. The 2 will collaboratively create a top 8 list of that episode's topic. Join the Killer Countdown if you dare.
Welcome one, welcome all to the Killer Countdown. I am one of your hosts. I am Casey Kelderman.
I am Blake Ginithan.
And here we are, Blake, doing another Killer Countdown. Just the 2 of us this time.
Two of us.
You and I. This is
we
it.
We can make it if we try.
We're gonna make it.
We're gonna do
I
it.
hope we're gonna make it.
I
don't
hope so.
know.
I don't know how this draft's gonna go today, so I'm excited.
This is gonna be a fun one. Literally.
Literally, we're talking about comedy movies. You know, it's cold outside. It's windy. It's rainy. Let's lighten the air up a little bit.
Yeah, I have a feeling like with horror comedies that we won't be using that knife today, just because there's so many different factors when it comes to horror comedies.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I'm ready for just a fun episode where we can just be happy about movies for once, because there's too much negativity on the internet, and we need to be happy sometimes.
We do, especially today.
So let's start it off with what we usually do here on the Killer Countdown. If this is your first time listening, thank you all for listening. If you don't know about the show, this is our horror-themed countdown. We count down top 8 lists within the genre of horror. Usually Blake and myself are on it. Once in a while, we'll have a guest to help us rank certain films or series, but today it's just the 2 of us. As I said, before we get to our actual countdown for the episode, we like to start off with our recent watches. Mm-hmm. So some of the movies that maybe we want to recommend to our listeners out there. So Blake, what do you got on some of your recent watches?
Last weekend I watched The Howling, which is I guess it'd be a staple of the werewolf genre. Mm-hmm. I don't know where it would fall within.
We'll find out when we do a werewolf countdown.
Yeah. I don't know. I find this movie quite boring, but I think the creature effects are absolutely incredible. And the standoff at the end in that barn is literally a barn burner. So yeah, that was what I watched last weekend. I don't know if you want me to keep streaming mine, or if you want to go, or
sure, you can go ahead.
All right. I also watched.
I've never seen The Howling for one.
Oh, okay.
That's why I didn't comment.
Oh, okay. I also watched. I've seen it before. I've seen it a few times. It's one of my favorite David Lynch movies. I watched Twin Peaks: Fire Walk with Me, which is the movie prequel to his cult TV series, and I can't really comment on it because it kind of the TV series is about this murder of this young teenage girl, and soon you find out that the town is full of quite quirky characters, and the prequel came out a few years after the series, and it is quite the experience. If you happen to have the Criterion channel, it is currently streaming on there, but it's sort of like the closest thing that David Lynch made to a kind of a straight-up horror movie, so I'm going to include it today.
That's I've never seen Twin Peaks, no.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's been on my TV watch list for a while. So is that mostly what you got?
Yeah.
And then I'll round it out with what we both watched this weekend.
Right.
Which is, I've only watched 3, and 2 of them are ones we saw together. One I saw this weekend, I briefly mentioned it to you. It's called Doom Asylum.
Yeah.
This movie came out 1987.
Okay.
So near the end of the slasher craze.
I've heard of it.
It's, I guess you could call it a horror comedy. It won't be on my top 8 list.
Oh, okay. No spoilers then. No,
it is goofy as all hell, but I kind of respected it for that because it knew exactly what it was.
Sure.
There's so many times throughout the film I was sitting there, I'm like, is this movie effing with me? I couldn't tell if it was trying to be, like, if it knew what it was or if it didn't. Like, I just kept asking myself, are you effing with me right now? And some of the things that I had to write down because it just randomly stuff that kept reoccurring throughout the film. It kept cutting to the 1936 Sweeney Todd movie for like 2 minutes straight. Like 5 or 6 different times throughout the movie.
It would just show scenes from it?
Yeah, it would cut to the main killer in the movie just sitting there watching the movie. And it would sort of set up the next kill that was going to happen, but it would like play entire scenes for like 2 3 minutes. And this movie's less than 90 minutes long, so
it's
a third of the runtime is the black and white Sweeney Todd. There are some weird daydreams throughout the movie, especially involving. So basically, the story is this group of teens goes to this insane asylum, where it's rumored that this killer is still haunting the halls of the asylum, and he uses different surgical tools to kill people, is what the rumor is. So while these teens are there, there's also this all-girl punk rock / USSR band.
Oh,
yeah, except only one of them's like Soviet Russia, but the rest are just punk. It was really weird. But one of the girls in the band gets a crush on one of the guys from the group, and the guy has a crush on that same girl, and they both have like daydreams throughout it where they're running in a field in slow motion. But it reminded me of the scene in Monty Python and the Holy Grail where you see the guy running, and it keeps cutting back to him running in the same spot. Yeah. Like that's what it felt like because they didn't move.
But do any dogs have any daydreams in this?
No dogs. We'll get to dogs daydreaming. And then the last thing, the main characters involve this girl whose mother had died 10 years prior, who dated the killer in the movie. Spoilers. But throughout the movie, she's like heartbroken because it's the 10th anniversary of her mother's death, and they're going to a place where her boyfriend is rumored to haunt. And so her boyfriend says, to get over this, you can start calling me Mom, and I'll be your mom. And throughout the movie, she keeps calling him Mom, and he's like, can I get a kiss from you? That's incest, Mom. I don't know. It was just super weird, but...
So do you recommend this movie?
Yes. In a weird way.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
One of those you have to watch?
You kind of have to watch
maybe?
it in a group, yeah.
Yeah.
I sat and watched it by myself, and I laughed out loud a couple times. It's an absurd movie.
Where did you watch this at?
Found it free on Tubi.
Oh, okay.
I literally picked it. I'm like, I saw the cover... the cover art for the movie. I'm like, I'm gonna watch that tonight.
Cool.
Knew nothing about it. So yeah, that was my first one, Doom Asylum. Another one I watched, Dogs Daydreaming, Hills Have Eyes Part 2.
Hills Have Eyes Part 2.
We're gonna be doing a Wes Craven draft or
at some point.
Countdown at some point. Yeah. So I felt like watching because I'd seen the first Hills, and we'll talk more about that series as a whole. But yes, there is a scene in which a dog daydreams. And flashes back to the first movie. And I was like, what the F is happening right now?
That's so weird.
Yeah. It's
Wes Craven directed that,
yeah,
didn't he? Yeah. So it's such a... Did he write it too?
It's a full Craven movie.
So wondering like if he was doing cocaine with Martin Scorsese back in the 80s, to write a scene like that. I don't know. That's so bizarre.
I don't know. We'll talk about more of that movie.
Yeah.
But Dogs Daydreaming.
Very
That's
cool.
where that is. So, and then we're back to what we watched just last night as we're recording this. From Beyond.
Oh, 2 nights ago.
2 nights ago, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of From Beyond?
I dug it. The way I like Reanimator more, which you have almost unfortunately have to compare the two because they're so similar in one tone, obviously, and then director and cast is the same. But yeah, I like that the entire concept is almost flipped from Reanimator, where Barbara Crampton's character becomes the mad scientist, and Jeffrey Combs is now the damsel in distress.
She's really good in the movie.
And she's really good. And I mentioned it to you that night that those two have just awesome chemistry.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, so this is definitely the more Lovecraftian between the two. I think Reanimator is a little more straightforward. This one's a little more high concept, like weird shit is happening.
Sure.
Yeah, I would watch it again. It's one like I would sit and watch like a whole night of Brian Usna and Stuart Gordon movies just all night. Yeah. I think that'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, I like From Beyond more than Reanimator. I have a interesting relationship with that movie, but I've seen From Beyond a couple times before, and it's never like I've enjoyed it, but it's never like stuck with me. And part of me was like, God, I feel like my friends would really dig this, and that's why I kind of picked it for my double feature. And also, another reason why I picked it was because it kind of forces me to somewhat pay attention more to what's happening, because sometimes I drift in and out of movies, and so it was nice to watch that really intently, and I really like it, and I love how it's kind of has like this giallo look to it at some points where. When the resonator kicks on, there's like these bright lights, and
It's very like when I think of like H.P. Lovecraft in terms of like film, I think of like bright greens and purples, and it's probably because of Reanimator and From Beyond, like that. It's just ingrained in my head that way. So yeah, because Reanimator's a lot of green, especially with the green.
I haven't seen Reanimator in a long time.
With the green ooze from the syringe,
right?
And then From Beyond has a lot of pinks and purples.
A lot of pinks.
And,
yep.
So
very cool.
Yeah.
What did you think of Intruder?
Yeah, Intruder was the first one we watched. I liked it, but it's like if I'm gonna go watch that, I'm gonna go watch Evil Dead.
Okay.
Because it's very. So for people who don't know what Intruder is,
well, yeah. So Intruder is basically a slasher film that takes place in a grocery store.
I like that concept because I've worked retail many a time, so I'm like, this just needs to be a setting for a horror movie.
And the one thing I think it has working against it, which I realized that the filmmakers are trying to, like there's too much buildup. I think there's like a half hour really before stuff starts to happen, and I think in a setting like that with like such a a bare bones plot. You need to like be like 75 minutes long.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's gonna lend itself more to
15 minutes too long, I think.
Yeah.
And it really could have gotten across its setup with some less of it. Most times we want to see movies with more setup and with that pay off better, but this needed less setup, I think. But I thought like the filmmaking was really inventive. And it's hard to describe. There's just like things that they do with the camera and with like props on screen and with the way the camera moves in terms of what's happening. That's really
and where they put the camera. Yeah.
I thought it was really, and some of the
it's very evil. Like that's one of the things that made me love Evil Dead.
But it's less kinetic than Evil Dead. Yeah. Evil Dead's very much like the camera is moving very quickly on no steady cam. Like it's very unfiltered, and this is very streamlined filmmaking. And so your comparison's apt, just like not all the way, I think.
Yeah, you can tell it's from that same group of guys.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Scott Spiegel, I think, was a producer on the Evil Dead movies.
Yeah.
But he helped out with all of them. I know he was one of the fake shemps that they used in the first couple movies, and and it has the Raimi brothers are in it, Sam and Ted, and a cameo by Bruce Campbell, and got that same group. So, but yeah, this one, like, I've seen many interviews with Sam Raimi saying Three Stooges is a huge influence on him, and that is even more present in Intruder than the Evil Dead series.
Ooh, I don't know about that.
There's even a part where I think it's of the Three Stooges, Curly always would get like bonked in the head, There's an exact same shot in that movie. I'm like, that's straight up Three Stooges, which I don't think is bad because it works for the tone of the movie.
So overall, you like the movie?
Yeah. Cool. I've never even heard of it before you showed it. Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It was. I literally added it like Thursday, so it was a late edition.
Yeah. No, I'm glad I watched it. It would fit well within like playing like Evil Dead and then Intruder, or vice versa.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's all of my recent watches.
All of mine too.
Yeah. And then we're gonna be doing. I did a few watches for this. We'll get to those when we get to those.
They're gonna make the list, huh?
We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
Because I don't know what you watched, so.
Okay. Good. All right. Let's get into the game. So we're gonna be doing the top 8 horror comedies of all time. Before we get to the rules, I want to set it up with basically one thing that we both agreed here as we started recording. We will not be doing spoof comedies within horror.
Yeah,
so no scary movie.
We agreed to it, but it was we both like did not plan it as well. So,
and so let's. I want to get some of your thought process going into this because I had one thing. Part of my criteria for some of my picks is that the comedy has to come first. And that but it also has to be a horror movie. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't know if I had criteria other than there's no spoofs. I mean, my movies are. I'm thinking about mine, and I don't think mine are like truly drop dead scary with comedic elements.
Yeah.
I think mine just like I I try to look at like filmmaker intentions, like was this supposed to be funny?
Yeah.
And that's what I base it. It wasn't like,
And
oh my god,
you didn't put any so bad it's good movies like
No.
unintentionally
No.
fun, like Troll 2.
No, I don't think so. Well, if I'm able to play the movie I want to play,
Okay.
that one might be. I don't know, and I don't know if you've even seen it.
Okay.
We'll see what we determine. But mine were basically like was humor clearly intentioned in this movie, and I'm curious if we're going to see a director show up twice in this. And
Interesting.
I think it might happen with two directors.
Okay. I know I know one of them. I don't know the other one. We'll see.
Okay.
So, do you want to go ahead and say the rules for
Yeah,
the show?
so we have a top 8 we're creating. Casey and I each get 4 draws. I'm sorry, 4 picks. We're going to do 2 draws. We're going to draw numbers 8 through 5 first, and then we're going to lay down our movies and then talk about them, and then possibly cut them out of the equation. I'll get to that rule here in a second. And then we're going to do a second draw with spots 4 through 1. Each of us gets a stab, which means if I lay a movie that Casey doesn't like,
or things should be higher.
He can stab it off that spot, and the movie is not out of the game completely. It's just out of that spot, and whoever laid the movie down will have to choose another one. Is that it?
I think that's it.
I think that's it. It's a pretty simple game.
Yeah. So we're trying to make a top 8 list, the definitive horror comedies.
Yes.
So we're going to start it off. We have the numbers 8 through 5 in a hat. We'll each pick out a couple numbers here. And yeah, we'll go from there. So, whoops.
Is this mine? Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So I got the number 8 pick. I have no idea what I'm going to play here.
All right.
This could be a fun one in here, or we can
it better
blow
be fun.
this.
It better be fun. Otherwise, you're laying down the wrong movie.
Could have some weird. I could think some things are really weird, Blake. I could think Cannibal Holocaust is the funniest movie ever,
and I couldn't say no because I've never seen it.
All right. Where is this one? There it is. I think we'll play it here just because for me, it might have recency bias.
All right.
That it even makes the top 8 list of all time.
Okay. I think
you know what it is, too. It just came out. Number 8, I have chosen One Cut of the Dead.
Before you explain, I think you should do your best to not explain everything that happens in this movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's going to be hard. Nice. So Blake had it in his pile as well. Yeah, this movie... Okay, so the first thing, I am not going to spoil anything about it. But I will say, after watching... And I think this might be the first time I've ever said it about a horror movie. I said to myself, that was delightful. And it truly is. It is the basic bare bones premise is that these group of hack filmmakers are making a zombie movie in which the zombies actually come to life.
Yes. That is
the bare bones premise.
That is, I think
that's all I knew going into.
I think we should just stop right there.
Okay.
With the description of the plot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know what we can get into besides because I want to say what I loved about it, but that might
okay.
We could tell people if they haven't watched it, pause this, go watch One Cut of the Dead. It's really easy to find right now.
Yes,
it's on Shudder. It's on Prime, I think, right now too.
I don't know about that. I'll look here really quick, but I could talk about my experience watching the movie. Okay. So I wanted to say if you didn't play it at number 8, I would have played it. I have numbers the spot. I have the 7th pick, so I would have played it at number 7. So I loved it too. So I told the story to Andy from Fat Dudes the other night because he came over to my house and we talked about it for a little bit.
I messaged him after I watched it.
Him and I watched it like at the exact same time, unknowingly. I started watching this movie and there was so much hype around the film. Yeah. And I started watching it, and within 10 minutes, I was kind of like looking at my clock, like, how much do I have left of this? There's so many odd stylistic choices to the acting, to some of the blocking in the movie, and I was like, I said to myself, are people taking a big piss with this movie? Is there a big joke behind this movie? I got to the 20th minute, and I'm like, this movie's bad. Like I'm not seeing something here, Gets to the 30th minute, I'm checking my clock like, man, I really want to shut this off. And then a title card comes up that says 1 month earlier. And let me tell you, when a movie decides to flash back, I automatically lose a lot of interest. Like a star goes away, and it has to gain back that star rating for me. But where this movie goes in the final act pays off immensely. It becomes this big, fun, hilarious love letter to filmmaking. And the spirit of creativity, the spirit of togetherness, the spirit of family. And you just need to trust us that this is one of the funniest, one of the most engaging movies that you're going to sit through the first half hour and be like, what is going on? This is poorly acted, but it's not. Like, it's so spot on, so idiosyncratic with what it's trying to do. And honestly, like, I feel like if this countdown was happening in 10 years, it'd be like in the top 2 or 3 for me, honestly. Like, it's only because it just came out that we just can't put it so much higher.
Yeah. I'm glad you feel the same way.
Yeah,
it's like I said, it's truly just a delightful movie. Like, I started watching it one day. I was just like, all right, everybody's talking about how great this one cut of the dead is. I'll sit down and watch it.
Yeah.
Watched maybe 5 minutes of it. I'm like, okay, I don't get it. So, like, some of the acting I started laughing at because I thought, I'm like, okay, maybe it's so bad it's funny. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then so I stopped watching it. I'm like, okay, we have our horror comedies. I need to finish One Cut of the Dead. Just, what am I missing? So I started the movie over, and yeah, you get to that 30-minute mark, and the title card comes up, and I'm like, this movie's already brilliant.
Oh, so you enjoyed the going back in time type of thing? Okay.
That can definitely be hit and miss.
I really don't like it at all. I hate it. I hate it.
But it worked for this movie.
It works.
If it works for the story they're telling.
That's what I'm saying. I hate it, but like if a movie can come back and redeem itself, then I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
this movie does it in spades.
It is one of my favorite. Are we running into spoiler territory? I don't know.
I don't think we should. I think this movie is best.
But there's one thing I have to say, and I don't think it's running into spoiler territory, but it is one of my favorite movies about making movies.
Yes.
And I'll leave it at that.
I was going to compare it. I've compared it to other movies. Or I'm sorry. I've compared it to another movie that is a straight up comedy that I'm not going to mention the name of because I don't want people to already have that little seed in their head of like where it's going. Like, this movie is just like the way you put it. Like, it's just filmmakers are making a movie about zombies and an actual zombie movie an actual zombie outbreak happens. That's just the best way to go into this movie about it. It's just. I almost say it's a perfect movie. I rarely say that, but this is almost a perfect movie.
Yeah. So it's one of those movies where I was like just surprised how much I liked it.
Yeah.
So yeah, number 8, One Cut of the Dead.
Should I hand you my card or
no? Go ahead. Go ahead. If you got to do some build up or some.
No. I just no. I didn't know if there was a specific thing we're going to do with this. All right. So I have the number 7 pick. I just want this movie to be on here. I would love it to be like number 1 or number 2, but that might be just personal, really selfish. Okay. Yeah. It's Peter Jackson's debut film, Bad Taste. This movie is absolutely insane. It's about aliens who come to Earth to harvest humans for their fast food companies on the other planets, and that's essentially what the movie's about. And the movie begins literally in the middle of the action. Like, basically, it's about this ragtag group of dare I say, bumbling idiots who they have machine guns and they're just driving around in convertible cars fighting these aliens who are there to harvest humans. It takes place in New Zealand, where Peter Jackson's from, small little coastal town. There's so much like. Again, this is kind of like comes back down to like independent filmmaking, but like Peter Jackson, like this is shoestring stuff. Like the gore effects are incredible, and they're cheesy, and they're really poor. They're incredible. They're incredibly well done, but they're bad.
Yeah.
But like the point is like it's the spirit in the movie. There's a part of this movie where Peter Jackson plays the main character. there's a part where he falls down this cliff and hits his head and splits his head open, and part of his brain goes flying out. And he literally picks up his brain, puts it into his head, takes his belt off, and wraps his belt around his head to keep his head from breaking open again. There's a scene where another person shoots a rocket launcher at a house to blow it up because the aliens have this house to take off. It's a rocket ship house. Anyway, the rocket goes through the windows, misses the house, and the movie cuts to a sheep out in the middle of nowhere, and the sheep goes, eh, eh, and the rocket hits it and it blows up the sheep. This movie is wall-to-wall this stuff. That's all it is gory, slimy violence. At one point, there is a human inside of a big pot, and there's carrots and potatoes floating around him, and he has like a vegetable stuck in his mouth. You know, like it's all Looney Tune gags. Have you seen this movie?
I have not.
You've not seen it. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to ruin it, but you have to trust me that this movie is absolutely insane, insanely funny.
Okay, I watched. Okay, now that you mentioned one of these movies.
For you people who might have feel like you've seen or heard this, if you've ever gone through the video store and there is a VHS tape of an alien with an AK-47 flipping you off, that is bad taste. That is the movie.
This one right
Yes.
here?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. No, I have never seen Bad Taste.
I showed this at a double feature like a decade ago, and people just were like rolling.
Yeah, it's those early Peter Jackson movies are ones I'm trying to catch up on. There's one that I did watch earlier this year. Maybe we'll talk about it. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll see. So yeah, Bad Taste, that's on my list. I can't argue with it. I've never seen it,
perfect.
but yeah, it's been on my list to watch for a while. So I got the number 6 movie here. And I want to keep this kind of a good mixture of movies here.
All right.
Maybe this, I don't know if I can play this one now. I think it destroys my own criteria of spoof. We'll talk about it after, because I'm not going to play it.
Oh, okay.
Because now that I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, that's
kind of... might have been a spoof,
That's a spoof, yeah. I'll change it up. Number 6, I'm going to go with Zombieland. So Zombieland, we just got the sequel out here, Double Tap. I haven't had the chance to watch it yet, but Zombieland is one of my favorite horror comedies of all time. I love this movie. Me and my friends used to watch it all the time. It's basically about this ragtag group of people that come together during the zombie apocalypse and hijinks ensue. I think the cast is really charming and really has a good communal factor to them. Like, you feel like they're actually this ragtag family. You know what I mean? They have, they bicker, they fight, but at the end of the day, they're still family. And the thing that really stands out to me is that there's actually some heart to this movie. I think there's a small little character moment within Woody Harrelson's character in this movie, and I think that just it adds something to this movie that it didn't need, but it adds character to this movie. And it has some of my favorite just zombie gags of all time. I think the opening credits are fantastic. Maybe one of my favorite opening credit sequences in any movie ever, with Metallica playing, and then he showed these just different places where the zombie apocalypse has occurred.
Yeah.
Like this guy just on on fire. There's these people running out of a strip club with stripper zombies chasing after him. Like, I love Zombieland, and I think it has some of the most fun gags of all time, and of course, probably my favorite cameo of all time.
Yeah.
Bill Murray's cameo is just one of the funniest sequences in comedies.
I really want to stab this movie up. I just want to be clear. This movie's fine to me.
It's fine.
It's fine. I just I don't find it hilarious. I don't find it fun.
Yeah.
Terribly funny. I love the opening. The opening credits are great. I love the Jesse Eisenberg narration about
the different rules.
The kill of the week or whatever. I think
the zombie kill of the week with the piano.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that stuff. I think this would have been I love that opening stuff, and I think it would have been a really cool short. I don't It's weird. I listened to a podcast last week of interview with Woody Harrelson, and I think he's one of our best actors. But like here, I don't know. I'm just not in love with him in this movie. And the ending is great with the
amusement park,
amusement park, and of course the cameo is one of the funniest things. So that
cameo might have made this movie why we're getting a sequel now.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's not a bad pick. I'm not like in love with the movie like everyone else is. Yeah. Like I don't like that a sequel came out 10 years later. Like that seems really weird to me. But this movie's fine.
Yeah. I mean, me and my buddies, I grew up on this movie almost. Like, I watched it at the perfect age, like high school.
Sure,
like, this is this is one of our go-to movies.
My wife watched. My wife and I, we watch it every few years, and we it's a good time.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it might. Like, I feel like it just is it a 2-hour movie, or is it? It feels like it's a little too long sometimes. I get a little bored. I'm curious. What are the critics saying about the newest one?
I've heard it's pretty much on par with the first movie. I mean, there's not much you can do or change that would necessarily affect that movie. It's an hour 28.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm still looking forward to going to see the sequel.
Yeah. I'm sure my wife and I will watch it when it comes out.
It is 10 years too late, but
yeah. Well, I think one of the reasons that happened was because they tried to do an Amazon Prime series.
Yeah, and that flopped.
Yeah, hard. And so I think a lot of the resources went into that before.
Yeah, and all these people went on to do bigger. I don't want to say bigger and better things, but they went and did bigger and better things. You know, the writers went on and wrote Deadpool. Frickin' Emma Stone went to go win an Oscar. You know, so yeah, Zombieland. I think it's just that's one thing within.
It came out in 2009.
2009.
Yeah, so she went on to win an Oscar. Jesse Eisenberg went on to be nominated for an Oscar. Yeah, crazy. And so did Woody Harrelson, but he already had one. So
yeah,
crazy.
So Zombieland. That's number 6. That's my pick.
Whew. All right, my final pick of this round, number 5. I don't know what to play, Casey. I did not plan this out at all. I am gonna play. I think this movie is more of a comedy than a horror, but it definitely plays with horror tropes.
Okay.
Big time.
I think I saw what it is.
Okay. I am gonna play. I've seen this movie a few times. I'm gonna play Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Man. You might be better at describing this movie than I am, but I'll give it a whirl. So basically, this movie all it does is playing on horror tropes and kind of subverting them for comedy effect. A group of teenagers are out in the woods, the backwoods of I think it's in the South somewhere. Mm-hmm. And they, they're your typical group of horror. Yeah, you have like the really cute blonde, the prick football player. There might even be a nerd in there.
The token black guy.
Right.
Yep.
And they go out into the woods and they run into Tucker and Dale, a couple of hillbilly boys who live there, and they don't have much going on for them, but they're absolutely lovable guys. I forget which one's which, but the big bearded guy, man, he's so good in this movie.
Dale,
he is so good in this movie.
I haven't seen him in much else besides this. Tyler Labine.
Yeah.
And
anyway, these two guys, by how do I say this?
By happenstance.
By just dumb happenstance, they accidentally start killing these group of teenagers, and it's out of pure bad luck.
It looks like they are killing these teenagers.
But from the teenagers' point of view, it looks like they are after them as like killers.
Yeah.
But they're just like not this.
They're a bunch of they're a bunch of good old boys who are trying to repurpose this shitty cabin.
This doesn't happen, but it'd be like if they slipped on a banana peel and a knife they were holding happened to just fly up in the air and slit someone's throat.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen, but it's stuff like that. And the entire movie is built upon these two guys who keep messing up, but they end up killing these teenagers. And it's a really interesting look at horror tropes and how cliches in horror movies just keep happening and happening. It's wildly funny, and a very sweet romance happens in this movie that it might not be believable, but because of the movie the movie has this like really lovely energy to it. You believe it, and it works.
Yeah, I probably had this a little higher. I might have pushed it for number 1 even. I love Tucker and Dale versus Evil. I think it fits horror and comedy. The balance between the two is just really well done because it sets up all these horror tropes that these kids are going out into the woods and there's these redneck guys out there and they're they first meet them at this gas station and Dale just like has no idea how to speak to this girl and he's like just all like mush mouth when he talks to her, but the way you would see it through a teenager's eyes is why is this creepy hillbilly coming up and talking to us?
It's so perfectly written.
Yeah. And it has some of my favorite kills ever. So if you haven't seen Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, obviously go and watch it, but I'm going to spoil one of the kills because I just love it.
The wood chipper scene?
The wood chipper one. Because, one, I love it because it uses a freaking wood chipper to kill one of the kids. So one of the kids is trying to tackle Tucker, played by Alan Tudyk. Who's
great in this movie.
Fantastic. I love Alan Tudyk. But he like moves out of the way. The kid jumps head first into the wood chipper, and his feet are just dangling out, and there's blood spraying all over Alan Tudyk. And the cops at that point immediately roll up as he's trying to pull the kid out of the wood chipper.
And it looks like he's putting him in the... It's so funny.
And he comes up and... He's one of my favorite lines. I might mess it up here, but he's like, "These goddamn kids are coming out and killing themselves like this."
I forgot about that. That's what. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, some sort of suicide pact. I just love the fact that it's both sides. Neither one is necessarily bad or, as the movie says, evil. It's just happenstance that both through misunderstandings and tropes.
I think this is on Netflix.
I think it still is,
which has been there for probably 10 years.
Yeah.
But
I love Tucker and Dale versus Evil, and I even think the third act kind of goes straight up into horror territory.
Yeah,
because it takes the tropes and flips it on its head.
It's still very fun, though.
It is very fun, yeah. But Tucker and Dale become the victims in the end, and I like that. I think it's fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I couldn't do this list without having this movie.
Yeah, I love this movie. This is I think I still, even though it's been on Netflix for, like you said, like 12 years, I still think it's very underrated.
Yeah,
like especially when people talk about like horror comedies.
Yeah,
it's definitely up.
Yeah, it was almost a yearly watch for me at one point. I watched it every year. And it holds up. So.
Tucker and Dale.
I
like it. Number 5.
All right.
Let's do our top 4 here. Let's get our picks here.
I'm gonna draw first this time.
I'll count it. We got number 8, One Cut of the Dead. Number 7, Bad Taste. Number 6, Zombieland, and number 5, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. All right. So we're gonna get into our top 4 here. Looks like Blake has the number 4 pick.
All right. That's
what I like about this game. You never know what you're going to get.
You never know what number you're going to get. What am I going to play?
We're like Forrest Gump. How many cards do you have left?
I have 3 left. And
Are you going to be mad if one of those does not make the list?
If one of them does not make the list, I will not be mad. If the other 2 don't make the... Well, here's the thing. I'm going to play a movie, and I honestly don't know if it qualifies. But we can talk about it. I'm going to play Sam Raimi's Drag Me to Hell. This is borderline because I don't know if it's a straight-up comedy. However, there are very funny sequences in this movie that only Sam Raimi knows how to do. So the basic plot is Alison Lohman, who I think is absolutely terrific in this movie. She plays, I believe, like a personal financer for a bank, and she's trying to get a promotion. And there's another employee who is he's a very go-getter, butt-kissing dude, and she's just not getting ahead in the promotion. And what's funny about this is is it Jeffrey Payne? What's his name? Something Payne. He's David Paymer, right there. Okay, David Paymer. He's the boss. He'll literally say stuff like, "Oh boy, Don's he's doing pretty well. He might get that promotion." It's so spot on with what they're trying to do. So she she's asked to be tough against a certain bank customer they have, and it's this old Romanian lady, and she comes in and like her teeth are falling out, and I think her eye is even really jacked up, and she's drooling all over everything, and it's very disgusting, but it's very humorous, and so she is basically told, like, if you don't be tough on this customer, like that might be the final nail in the coffin for you in terms of getting a promotion. So she turns down the promotion, and this woman puts a curse on her. About I believe it's just a demon who's gonna eventually just come and grab her,
drag her
to hell. And so obviously that ends up happening, and she has to fight this demon. But where the humor comes in is how Sam Raimi kind of like films certain sequences. There's one sequence where Alison Lohman ends up fighting this woman in her car in a parking lot at night, and she ends up stabbing the woman in her throat with a ruler. And there's all kinds of visual and audible gags with this scene. There is a scene where like the demon's walking up the stairs, and like there's shadows of his hoofs, and they're like literally making noise as he's like stomping on the floor. And Alison Lohman has to kill a cat at one point, and the way like she kills the cat is quite humorous. So if you were against this movie being on the list, I would understand, but I think there's enough here that qualifies for it to be here.
Yeah, I haven't seen Drag Me to Hell in forever. It's been at least 3-4 years.
Right.
I don't remember a whole lot about it. But yeah, it has the Raimi-isms throughout the film.
Yes.
So that's why
it's not like just the kinetic film, like really high energy. It's like it's actual humor.
Yeah, there's plenty of gags throughout.
At one point, they're trying to put a demon into like a goat, like they're gonna sacrifice a goat, and the demon gets in the goat, and the goat, like, there's like this huge like zoom in on the goat, and he's like, the goat's talking in all these tongues and laughing and stuff, and there's just things like that really make the movie fun to be around.
And it's one of those movies where I think it's kind of you think you're rooting for this main character throughout, and she kind of gets her comeuppance in the end. And
yeah,
I
don't know how I feel
and you
about
don't know
that.
how to feel about it, honestly. And I think that's part of the Raimi charm.
And what I love about Drag Me to Hell is that
Andy's gonna hate us for putting it number 4.
Oh, does he not like the movie?
He just watched it. I think. Yeah, he didn't like the movie.
That's too bad. Well, he should have been on the countdown then and
stabbed Drag Me to Hell.
What I love about Drag Me to Hell, what the uniqueness to the movie is that one, a lot of the scares happen during the day, which you hardly ever see. Another thing is that most horror movies are very serious, and the characters don't take it serious. They don't take the plot serious. They're all like, "Oh, I should go upstairs. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe
What was that sound?"
They become tropes. Yeah. They become cliches. In Drag Me to Hell, the characters take everything seriously, but the movie itself does not. The movie itself is poking fun at itself, but the characters are taking everything seriously, like their lives actually depend on it. And that is why this is a great movie.
So I've seen this probably 2 times. The first time I watched it, I didn't really like. I was expecting a straightforward, this is a scary movie.
Yeah, it's a scary movie.
And it is a scary movie, but yet watching it the second time, I'm like, it's also making fun of scary movies because it's the loud noises, the like mouth wide open scares like every horror movie has in the 2000s. And I think just the way Raimi presents it, though, it's supposed to be funny. It's over the top. Like, he understands what it is, where maybe not everyone in the audience will understand what it is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm fine leaving it on this list. Because it will mean we're going to get 2 Sam Raimis on this list.
Ooh.
So, yeah. All right, that was Blake's pick, number 4, Drag Me to Hell. Number 3, I have number 3. I wonder if we're going to get to both of your directors' things, because we'll see. Number 3 is a movie I just watched just this year, actually. But I immediately fell in love with it. This is the Tom Hanks-led film, The Burbs. Now, this maybe leans more towards straightforward comedy, but I think there's enough little horror elements throughout the movie. But it's basically about this suburban neighborhood who Tom Hanks' character, his next door neighbor, lives in this just rundown nasty ass house, and they believe something weird is going. They aren't quite sure what it is. Maybe that they're bringing people to their basement to kill them, or they're doing experiments, or something's going on within this neighborhood. And the hysteria and that concludes within this suburban neighborhood is perfect. Tom Hanks is. He's Tom Hanks, but he is fantastic in this movie. The energy he brings to it is you can feel it like through the screen. And also one of my favorite characters in this movie, I can't remember this guy's name. I remember his face all the time, but I gotta look.
Who is it? The
heavier set neighbor.
Oh, okay.
But Bruce Dern is fantastic in this movie.
Bruce Dern and Corey Feldman's relationship in this movie is a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. Have you seen some behind the scenes stuff on this? Corey Feldman is apparently a douchebag on set.
No, I have not.
Rick Ducommun?
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he is a perfect counterpart to Tom Hanks in this movie, kind of building the hysteria even more between them. Like you said, Corey Feldman's character and Bruce Dern's character, the chemistry they have with these two. Bruce Dern is like a retired vet, I think.
He's a military guy.
Yeah, he's a military guy. Corey Feldman is just, I don't know if it's just that his parents are gone all the time throughout the movie, or like he's constantly throwing parties and just being like what's up, dude? Like, just kind of typical 80s Corey Feldman. But yeah, I think this is a perfect representation of horror and comedy mixed together. And within the final act, like, I love everything that happens with it. There's also great character actors throughout the movie, including Dick Miller, who has to be in like every horror movie at that time. But yeah, Joe Dante completely understands what the mixture of horror and comedy together. So maybe we'll get another movie on. We're down to 2 spots left.
Yeah.
I think Joe Dante is one of those guys that just, I don't know if it necessarily doesn't get enough credit, but I think he's a guy that balances horror and comedy together just better than the rest. I think he's one of the best directors in terms of this genre that we're looking at. So, yeah, The Burbs.
Oh, I could not disagree with you more on this movie.
Really?
I hate this movie so much.
You hate this movie?
I do not get the love for this movie. This movie is not funny. It's not scary. This movie has no idea what it wants to be.
It's not scary.
This movie has no idea what it wants to be. It doesn't know if it wants to be a horror movie. It doesn't know if it's a comedy. It's just none of it works for me. It's not funny. I am so bored by this movie.
Really?
Bored.
Bored.
I do not understand the love for this movie. I know I'm in the minority. I get it. I understand it. I don't care who I piss off. I think this movie sucks so badly.
Wow.
And I don't want to cut it off, to stab it off, because I think you'll put it at number 1. I don't want it any higher than what it is now. But I don't understand the love for this movie. Like,
really?
Tom Hanks is great. This is the Tom Hanks that I miss. Like, this high energetic,
kinetic energy.
Yeah, he's got
like this and Big and Turner and Hooch and like that area.
I love this Tom Hanks. Carrie Fisher's fine in the movie.
Yeah, she's not given a lot to do.
Bruce Dern and Corey Feldman's the best parts, but I
think Corey Feldman was coked out of his mind doing this movie.
It's possible. I don't know.
Yeah,
I fall asleep when I watch this movie, so I'm not going to stab it off. I just want my displeasure of it to be known.
to be known.
To be known.
Wow, hate it.
I don't like it.
Really?
I'm gonna retract my hatred. I don't want to hate things. I just very much.
You don't connect.
I very much dislike this movie. Very much dislike this movie.
Wow.
Yep. Sorry.
Wow.
Sorry to all the haters out there.
Maybe this could be another factor to it. I didn't grow up in the suburbs, but I grew up in a small town, and that's what this like this block that they all live on feels very small town. They all know each other. Hey, Bob, how's it going?
Yeah.
Maybe it's one of those things where I grew up in a neighborhood like this, where I could
and I didn't.
And it's very much like a small town feel, where these people, they're not necessarily doing anything wrong, the neighbors, until you figure out what's happening.
Right.
But yeah, it's just, it's one of those things
there's
where
an entire dream sequence that feels so out of place in this movie, so out of place.
Yeah, I don't know. I love it.
That's fine.
That's why I was hoping Joe Dante was your second director you were mentioning, but maybe
It was
not. All right.
was not.
But you're leaving it.
And now I'm really curious what you're going to play another Joe. I have no idea what you're going to play another Joe Dante movie.
All right.
All right. I am playing. Are we ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
So I have the number 2 pick. I'm going to play Evil Dead 2.
Okay. Let's just. I'll stab it because I wanted it number 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Right away.
I have nothing else. Ooh.
I don't know if you'd like my number 1 that I would play there, Blake, because it probably would be another Joe Dante movie. And we can go with it. I don't
Okay,
care.
well,
Do you want to fly with it?
You want to fly with this? I'm asking you.
God. No. Evil Dead 2 has to be number 1.
Okay.
It has to be.
I might need another card then, because I don't know.
If you know what it is, just go ahead and say it.
I don't know.
Oh, I threw this entire thing off. I thought you had a couple cards left, but apparently not.
Don't.
You don't want to. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have anything like that's probably worthy of being up here. Honestly.
Really?
This is scary.
Really?
Casey. I don't.
We're going to piss some people off by not including a movie for sure on this list. So if you want to go Evil Dead 2 at a number...
No. If you're stabbing it, I will find something to play.
All right.
Oh, my God.
Just make it another Joe Dante movie.
No, I'm sorry.
And you know which ones I'm talking about. Plural.
All right. You forced my hand.
I did. All
Okay.
right.
I'm going with John Waters' Serial Mom. Serial Mom is probably more comedy than horror, but it's technically about a serial killer, so I'm okay playing it. Basically, Kathleen Turner plays this suburban mom, stay at home. She has teenagers. She's the typical mom who gets groceries in the morning and is always out watering her plants and taking care of her house while her husband works. But she has a really terrible side where she messes with her neighbors. She'll prank call her neighbors and she'll do things like maybe like not like poison, but like she'll mess with her neighbor's dog's food and like so they get diarrhea. She'll just do little things that to mess with their neighbors. Well, soon enough, she ends up killing some people, and it's just like it's one of those performances from Kathleen Turner that is just like there's no one else who could play this movie, or I'm sorry, play this role. Sam Waterston is her husband, who is so good at this bumbling guy who has no clue and still loves his wife and struggles with what she's done. Ricki Lake is her daughter, who, if you know John Waters' movies, she's in a lot of his movies. And I believe, I think, don't quote me, Casey, I think Matthew Lillard is her son. But this is pre-Scream, and he basically plays the same character as he always does, but he's so good at it. He's just a lovable guy. And it all leads to this big court case at the end of the movie where people are testifying and she's doing these things. And it's a very, 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 very funny movie.
I've never seen it. Yeah.
And because you stabbed Evil Dead 2 off.
I don't know. I don't know what to say. Yeah.
I mean,
really.
This is not like a retaliation thing. Like, this is a legit, really funny movie.
But number 2 funniest horror. I mean...
This is what happens.
We'll see. I want to watch this movie now, though.
Yeah.
Like, just even looking at the poster, like I've known Kathleen Turner since I was a kid watching movies.
She is great in this.
And even looking at her, I'm like, yeah, she could be the sweet mom next door, but also she's got
there's
something in the eyes.
There's scenes where she's doing two things at once. Like she'll do the whole oh yeah, have a great day, honey, and like immediately pick up a phone and be like, you mother effing. It's so good. It's not one of John Waters' best movies, but it's still a fantastic horror comedy.
So yeah, I don't know what to say. I've never seen it, but yeah, I respect it. I'm gonna try to find where it's at right now. Is what I'm looking for. If it's even on streaming,
I don't think it is, but if it is, it's definitely a fun romp.
No, nothing for streaming services. You can rent it, so I might have to do that. Seems like a fun time, though.
Okay.
All right. So, yeah, number 1, then. Evil Dead 2.
Wow.
That's it.
Nice. Okay, cool. Very cool. I'm happy with this.
Yeah. I think going into this, I didn't necessarily have a number 1, but I'm like, If I get to the number one, it should probably just be Evil Dead 2.
Evil Dead 2 is like a top 4 choice for me, but I really wanted to get Drag Me to Hell on there. So
we got 2 Raimis, and I think this is the far superior one between the two, if I do say so. In terms of both how it represents the comedy and the overall enjoyment that I have with Evil Dead 2. It's my favorite of the series. It's basically a reboot of the first.
It's the best of the series, I think.
It is, yeah. It's basically a reboot of the first one now that they actually had money to put behind it. And it's basically a vehicle for Sam Raimi to direct Bruce Campbell however the hell he wants. And it's basically a one-man show throughout the movie.
Yep.
And he is perfect in it.
He's great.
Every facial reaction or every single scene he's in, like with himself or him trying to fight his hand, might be just the funniest thing. Mm-hmm. Like him in the kitchen trying to fight the hand. Like, I love this movie so much. And then there's the iconic scene that I still think, I'm like, this is just off the wall bonkers, but is my favorite thing ever, is when it's the camera circling around Bruce Campbell and all the things on the walls are coming to life.
That's great.
And the deer is starting to laugh and Bruce starts like,
yeah,
it's perfect.
One of my favorite sequences is when he's in the shed and he's fighting the headless body, and then the chainsaw falls on the neck and just blood shoots everywhere, and he's getting drowned in blood.
He's so bloody by the end of this movie, and it's great.
It's basically a remake of the first one, which is okay.
Yeah,
it's just
except I would say the first one is pretty much a straightforward horror movie.
Yeah,
there's a few gags throughout it with the gore effects, but
I wonder if this was the original intention, was to make Evil Dead 2 the first one. They just didn't have the budget.
Didn't have the budget and couldn't pull off some of the stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I think that is like we mentioned earlier when we talked about Intruder. These guys were heavily influenced by Three Stooges.
This is the Three Stooges. More so to me than
really.
Oh yes. Yes, I mean they're so close to poking eyes with 2 fingers.
Yeah,
so
there is a ton of Three Stooges gags.
Yeah. So this is the obvious choice, I think. So
yeah, and there's one thing I don't know if you've caught it in the couple times that you watched Intruder. They steal a line from Evil Dead 2 in Intruder.
I don't
where it's within Evil Dead, the one of the Deadites is saying, "Swallow your soul, swallow your soul," and he pulls out the shotgun. "Swallow this." She says that at the end of Intruder. Swallow this. Yeah, so they stole a line. No, I'm sure there was a wink and a nod.
The best steal from the best. So.
Yeah, best friends steal from each other. So yeah, Evil Dead 2. I think it's one of my favorite horror movies ever. And I'm glad it is
the first Blu-ray I ever bought.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. It's one of the. I don't know if I saw this before the original. I might have. I don't know, but it's just one of those movies, especially in my early time of watching horror movies, I went back to quite a few times. Is Evil Dead 2. So, yeah, and I understood it right away. Like, okay, this is a horror comedy. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's any other way you can represent the movie. And so, yeah, Evil Dead 2. That's it. That's the number one.
This is a good list.
This is a crazy list.
Yeah.
I think we already pissed some people off with some of the ones we're missing, but I'm glad we had it the way we wanted it. So, do you have any discards or honorable mentions or anything like that?
I have one discard, and it's Peter Jackson's Dead Alive.
Okay. That's the one I was referring to.
Yeah. Well, so I was referring to 2 Sam Raimis and 2 Peter Jacksons. I don't know. I don't know where this Joe Dante is coming from with other movies, but
we'll get to it when we get to my discards. Okay. But yeah, I would have loved Dead Alive on here too.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's a good movie.
You didn't want to play it at number 2 though.
Well, Evil Dead. Oh, you mean Serial Mom?
Yeah.
I don't know. I find Serial Mom funnier than Dead Alive.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just watched Dead Alive the first time this year, and I loved it.
Wild.
Yeah, it's one of those movies where I'm like, okay, like Evil Dead 2.
We might piss off people by not having that on the list. Did you have it in your discards?
Yeah, it was an honorable mention on here.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm like, if I'm gonna have one, it was probably like that and Evil Dead 2 remind me of each other a lot, and I like Evil Dead 2 more. Yes. You know what I mean?
Yes. But I think that's kind of why I always hesitating to play it too, because they are so much alike.
The gags are pretty similar, but the lawnmower at the end is just the frickin' best thing.
It's
ever.
disgusting.
So,
yeah.
Some of mine, I had one that I was going to play instead of Zombieland was Young Frankenstein.
That's a straight comedy.
Straight comedy. You're not going to go spoof.
I've only seen it once.
Okay. I love Young. Oh, there's a number.
Yeah.
I love Young Frankenstein.
No, I'm not saying it's not a good movie. I'm just saying.
And it helped.
I don't know
Like
if it's a horror movie.
I think we mentioned it before. I'm a sucker for black and white movies, just in general.
Okay.
And this is a We'll I eventually want to do the straight up comedy satire horror movies, the spoofs. So
I'll sit that one out.
All right. The only other ones I had on here was
There's one I'm surprised that you did not.
I think it's the same one we're thinking. Is it Ghostbusters?
No.
Okay. Ghostbusters is the one I'm like, yeah, it's not in my top 8. I like it.
I honestly did not even consider once Ghostbusters.
Really?
No.
Because it's straightforward comedy.
No, I mean, yeah, it might be more comedy. I mean, you have 3 comedy legends as the headliner. You know, it's a scary movie. I don't love Ghostbusters, so I'm not putting it on the list.
It's even out of all these, it wasn't.
No, the one movie, American Werewolf in London.
See, that I kind of mentioned that at the top.
Stabbed the hell off the list. I would have stabbed it off immediately.
Because you don't like it?
Or I don't like it. I don't find it funny. I don't find it scary. Nothing.
Find it...
It's the same thing with The Burbs. I don't understand it.
Okay.
I don't understand it.
American Werewolf in London is top 10 horror movie of all time for me.
For you, yeah.
But it's not a horror comedy. As much as people say it has very funny elements throughout the movie.
I don't find it funny
really?
at all. No.
Yeah. But yeah, it leans more straightforward horror to me than it does comedy. So that's why I didn't.
I was
put
like
it on the list.
waiting for it to be played.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very cool.
All right.
I think this list is great.
This is a crazy list. I think we're going to piss a lot of people off, and I'm glad because I dig
cool.
it. So
yeah.
You want to run it down?
Man. Number 8 is One Cut of the Dead. Number 7 is Peter Jackson's Bad Taste. Number 6 is Zombieland. Number 5 is Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Number 4 is Sam Raimi's Drag Me to Hell. Number 3, The Burbs. And number 2 is Serial Mom. And number 1 is The Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn.
Boom! That's it. That's the number 1. This is a fun list.
Yeah, this is probably the most copacetic list we've ever had.
Yeah, I was going into it saying I'm not going to use the knife, but I literally had nothing else in my stack, so I had to use it to get Evil Dead. I'm like, if it's this close, it might as well be number 1.
So what would you have played it?
I didn't even mention it. Gremlins 2.
I would have stabbed that.
At number 1?
Yes.
Okay. Then I would probably have just played Gremlins. So.
Oh, man.
Yeah. See, I don't know what... Do you not like Joe Dante?
Are
you a Joe Dante hater?
No, I don't hate any filmmaker.
You didn't like The Howling.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. No. I greatly appreciate Joe Dante and what he's brought to films. I don't connect with he's made a lot of movies that people just I think look back at nostalgia and really like. And for me, like I watch some and I'm like, ooh, that doesn't hold up. Like Gremlins, I watched it last year and I was pretty bored with it, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
I like Gremlins 2 more than Gremlins, actually.
Yeah, I mean,
it is a more straightforward comedy.
Yeah,
but I just dig it more.
Yeah. So. I think I'd be okay with Gremlins at number 1, maybe.
So when we do our Joe Dante countdown, don't have
we'll have maybe a Corey and you and Corey can go up against each other.
Do a Joe Dante. That'd be fun. Yeah, so
I really appreciate what he's done for horror, though. So
yeah, and he is a huge.
He's a huge film fan.
He's a huge, just film fan in general, and yeah. So what do we got coming up next?
What are we doing?
Do we want to announce it?
I forgot, Casey.
We're going to be doing post 2000s remakes.
Is that our next show?
That's the next show.
Oh. Ooh.
Yeah, we're going to have a guest on that one. Matt Petty, he's from here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, huge horror fan. I'm not sure who he wants to go up against.
He didn't. Did you ask him?
I haven't asked him yet, so we'll see. Post 2000s remakes. This could get dicey.
That should be fun.
This could get dicey.
I'm excited for that.
So either way.
Who am I kidding? I'm excited for every show.
Yeah. We got some really fun ones coming up too here in December as well. So thank you all once again for listening. That was Horror Comedies, the official top 8 list of all time. Yeah. Drag Me to Hell made it, Andy. Sorry.
Yep.
So,
sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. So thank you all once again for listening. You can check out this podcast and anything else Backlot 605 and Killer Countdown related on backlot605.com. You can check out the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, and YouTube. That has been the show, Blake. Do I have anything else we want to plug? Find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Yeah, thank you all once again for listening. This has been the Killer Countdown.
Yeah, I don't have anything. I got nothing, Casey. I don't have time to think about it.
We'll just use your Friday the 13th one, and we'll do it.
So, don't go to the woods.
No,
don't go to the night.
Check you out later. Thank you all again for listening. We'll see you next time.